The first impression of Star Wars Squadrons and its fleet battle mode went down as smoothly as meeting someone at a party while they're too drunk to stand up or form coherent sentences. It was rough. Rank was completely broken, VR was not working as intended, the TIE bomber was stupidly overpowered at a low pub level, and there were crash issues which led to even more uneven games than usual. This is on top of the fact that this is a hardcore arcade space sim game attempting new ideas, which gives it a hard time to find the fresh audience that'll appreciate it. Even with the Star Wars license, it was a tough sell, and with EA's reputation and no announced upcoming content at launch, things didn't look good. At first. However, right now, when most of the launch issues are fixed and hearing what's coming to the game in December, I've come to believe, after playing 100 hours with this game, that it has a lot of potential. It's a unique multiplayer experience that combines a space sim with MOBA elements that's fully playable within a VR headset. It is a high enough skill ceiling and a deep enough metagame to support a potential humble but sustainable esports scene. And with the recent news of private matches and other content coming, this game could soon be ready to show off its competitive potential. This is Jack from Virtual
I think we're all
Assets.
like torpedo. Oh!
There they come.
Dang it, I had a chance to get it.
They're pushing at me.
There you go.
Yeah, let him push, let him push. Let him push, they're coming in.
They're shooting at me.
So if you're unfamiliar with Squadrons fleet battles, or you just fell asleep at the tutorial, fleet battles is Squadrons' signature mode. The goal is to destroy 3 enemy capital ships while protecting your own. A morale meter dictates the flow of combat. Killing enemy players, AI units, capital ships, and raiders will push morale in your favor. The defending team always gains more morale from kills than the attacking team, meaning over time morale will almost always give both teams the opportunity to attack. The final capital ship, the flagship, has key subsystems that you can target and destroy, making attacking it easier. Most close games will come down to who has a better attack plan for taking on the enemy's flagship and which subsystems to prioritize. Your squadron is split into bombers who siege capital ships and farm AI to flip morale, interceptors who are trying to stop the enemy bombers from doing their duties and holding space for their own bombers to achieve their goal, fighters who have a hybrid role of dogfighting, sieging ships, carrying specialist iron weaponry to disable targets and take down shields, and support, who are the backbone of your squadron, who carry the most powerful auxiliaries who either heal and restock allies, cloak them from enemy radars, and increase the damage done to key targets amongst other things in exchange for not being particularly well suited to dogfighting. Success and failure in fleet battles comes down to one factor: mid control, or who controls the center area. For defense, most AI minions fly around this area, and killing them is an efficient way to flip morale, but it's also the staging ground for all attacks the attacking team wants to do. This puts defense in an interesting position. Do you push out and take a more even dogfight in order to flip morale to your side faster, or do you take the safer option and defend your ships from bombers while using their firepower to fight off enemy dogfighting ships? The former is more risky. You could lose the dogfight, or a bomber could sneak by and get a ton of damage on your capital ship. But if you could wipe the enemy team, you could farm some AI and flip morale even faster and go on the offensive yourself. This also makes the attacking team's decision of how to approach an attack difficult. On one hand, you don't want to beeline one at a time to the enemy capital ship. The enemy team will happily pick you off one by one to get morale in their favor again. However, sitting back and staying passive could also cost you morale. It gives the enemy more time to either farm morale in the center or kill your raider, and you only gain 1 morale point per AI kill as opposed to their 4 points, so don't think you can just out-farm them to stall. This means that every moment in the match, both the attacking team and the defending team have to weigh the pros and cons of being aggressive versus conservative, with more aggressive options always being the higher risk option, but also granting the highest reward. So many things can feed into this decision making. Did you pick off the enemy's ace interceptor because they got too cocky? Time to push into mid and turn this match around. Maybe on offense you notice the enemy bombers trying to sneak off into mid, and you need to focus them down before you push into your final attack. Maybe the enemy is about to push in for their final attack, one that you know you're not likely going to fend off. Then it's time to go for the Hail Mary, push into them, and go for one last even team fight in a desperate move to flip morale and give you one final chance to win this. Also, due to the fact that objectives are mobile ships instead of static towers, each map feels more dynamic as capital ships go down, allowing your frigates to move in closer to the front lines, which changes the hot zones of where combat begins. A particularly epic scenario, which never gets old, is on certain maps where all frigates are destroyed, the flagships of both sides move in next to each other to create a grand finale as you weave in between these massive ships, desperately trying to either attack while holding morale or gain it so you can finish off the enemy flagship and win the match. All of these dynamic scenarios create interesting decisions in the minute-to-minute gameplay, which when layered on top of the dogfighting gameplay, create endlessly interesting fights on different parts of the map. I could go on to explain how drift mechanics encourage a joust meta instead of the dreaded death loop that plagues most flight sim games, the various drift maneuvers that I've yet to fully master and how each of them have a useful use case in a dogfight and in sieging capital ships, and the unique meta interactions and group strategies that are still being discovered. But the point I want to make is that even at these early stages, it's apparent that this game has a high skill ceiling and a fun meta game. But it's rough to get over the bad first impression this game had at launch. And this game's infrastructure in general still needs work. Currently, as of writing this, the two biggest factors holding Squadrons Fleet Battle Mode back are problems with its ranked mode and the current lack of private matches. Though thankfully, a recent announcement from Motive confirmed that private matches are indeed coming. Private matches were such a highly requested feature that the entire community knew the game needed, that it basically became a meme to post a new daily thread on the subreddit asking for it to be added. However, ranked mode still has its own set of problems. While the rank 0 bug has been fixed, there are countless anecdotal stories of the matchmaking system not working as intended to find an even match. One time, in one match, me and my squad got matched against a team of Mavericks and new players while we were around Hotshot 2, which we won easily. And then the matchmaking system was perfectly happy to immediately throw us against them again, without waiting for a more even opponent, even though we all immediately knew it would be a stomp. Another story is we had a set of 5 matches where we alternated facing against some of the best players in the game and some newbies who didn't understand how to fly their ship yet without any large queue times between them, indicating a low player count. There's also a group of players who have opted out of resetting their rank 0 counts, which messes up the ranked ladder experience for all the players around them. This is on top of more unavoidable ranked issues like teammates who don't communicate in solo queue and a steep learning curve to understand the flow of the game, leading to a rough start for new players. It's also worth mentioning that the other game mode, Dogfights, currently doesn't have a ranked mode or a hidden MMR system at all, meaning veteran players and new players always get dumped into the same match. It's so frustrating, because when I can finally wrestle out an even match from this game's weak infrastructure with a top tier communicating squad, this is one of the best multiplayer experiences I've had. Easily the best I've had in VR.
Literally 10% hit. Oh shit, we're about to flip, This could be the last flip, guys, so... One more.
You did it!
Victory is ours.
Oh!
That was a good one.
That was a good match.
The good news is, I think it will be very likely this game will have a second chance once it has the time to polish itself up. The recent big announcement of essentially every feature the community wanted is a good sign for the future of the game. Not only does it contain private matches the community needed, and the fan favorites, the B-Wing and the TIE Defender, customization options in custom games such as banning certain starfighters or balancing starfighter stats allows the competitive community to essentially take care of itself and decide how the competitive scene should evolve. It's an old way of building a competitive scene, but it still works. And even if this is the last bit of content EA grants this game, there's still a couple levers they could pull to help the server population. EA has already flirted with the idea of adding this game to EA's Game Pass. You can currently play a 10-hour demo of the game, which essentially lets you play the entire single-player campaign and a few multiplayer rounds before committing to a full purchase. It's something I recommend taking advantage of if you're on the fence about purchasing this game, and I wouldn't be too surprised if in a couple months, EA just adds this game to the regular Game Pass. Multiplayer experiences benefit greatly from being added to Game Passes. The developers of Fall Guys attributed some of their success to the game being free for PlayStation Plus owners for the first month of their release. And even titles with a mixed reception, like Sea of Thieves, got a player count boost from being on Microsoft's Game Pass. Squadrons fits EA Game Pass like a glove. It's cross-platform and a game you have to try for a few hours with friends before you decide to stick with it, which is the ideal game you want in your catalog to sell a Game Pass whose main selling point is it's available on many kinds of platforms. Either way, whether it's an esports scene salvaged from this game's bad first impression, a potential sequel from Motive, or even an entirely separate developer taking the concepts presented here and reworking them to make a better game outside of EA's influence, I hope that the Fleet Battle game mode's maximum potential is realized somewhere. It could be the first mainstream esport that it has VR as a viable option and expand the potential audience of the previously more niche space sim genre. But right now, in this specific game, at the very least, when it works, and you have the right team, it's a very fun multiplayer game. The beginning of Squadrons' life was dicey. The deeper community could see the potential this game had, but there was a distinct worry that it would never have the chance to reach those heights. But with the recent announcements, I'm confident that this game will have a healthy lifespan and will be able to show off the maximum potential of its innovative signature game mode. Thanks for watching. I'm probably going to move on to a more distinctly VR focused essay for my next video essay, but I had to do another video on this game. If you want to experience Squadron's Fleet Battle mode the way it was meant to be played, I highly recommend joining a Looking for Group Discord and finding squad mates to play with. The community is pretty welcoming of newcomers, and it's better to learn how to fly with a team. Just don't solo queue. It's kind of a mess right now. I'm going to link some of the best guides I've found if you want to learn more of the game's flow and more advanced mechanics. As I've said previously, my goal with these videos as I learn how to refine how to research them, write scripts, record, and edit them is to start a conversation about the topics I explore. So I do appreciate any comments I receive on my videos and any place you manage to find it.